Hello, you've caught me thinking about sequels, a word that can often be found used in conversation a bit like this.
Our brilliant game has done really well. Shall we make a sequel?
Yes, let's make it not quite as good.
Oh, the sequel was ghastly. All those Hugo Weavings running around looking like they've been rendered on a toaster.
Do you think they'll ever do a sequel to Wonders of Life, Brian?
Oh, Mike. The second law of thermodynamics states that every natural thermodynamic process proceeds in the sense in which the sum of the entropy of all the bodies taking part in the process is increased. That's why I don't do sequels.
Poor old sequels, they've got a bad rep, quite undeservedly as well, because as we're about to find out in this week's list of 7 things, sometimes sequels can build upon what was brilliant first time around, add fresh ideas, and elevate a series even higher than before. So here are 7 video game sequels that managed to do the seemingly impossible, be even better than their already excellent predecessors. To avoid arguments, we're not going to include spiritual sequels, a term I still don't fully understand, but includes games like Red Dead Redemption, the peerless open world cowboy fantasy that was a sort of follow-up to Red Dead Revolver, and also Dark Souls, which emphatically outdid the undeniably excellent Demon Souls by being arguably one of the greatest games in the history of space and time. Right, now that's out the way, let's dive straight into one of the other arguably greatest games in the history of space and time, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. When Drake's Fortune came out in 2007, it was such a leap in terms of nuanced character performance and matinee action set pieces, it sort of embarrassed the rest of the medium. Yet somehow, a mere 2 years later, Naughty Dog throws out a sequel that goes even further. You can tell Uncharted 2's going to knock the pixels out of its competition right from the start, where, as a tutorial, you're dangling off a train wreck over a yawning drop into the blue. Press up to escape plunge into snowy oblivion. What follows is 12 hours of breakneck brilliance, a barrage of cinematic action and warm humour, executed with a consistency of quality that not once dips below astounding. It's Drake's Fortune but bigger, funnier, and with that train bit, and this jeep bit, and a gunfight inside a collapsing building. Very nice, Naughty Dog, very nice. I bet you can't make something better than that, though. Good. Next. Next is Portal 2, which, if you remember from our 500,000 subscriber Q&A video, is Dave's personal favourite game of all time, and for 3 good reasons. 1, there are no scary bits at all. 2, it's wonderfully and hilariously written, with the likes of Stephen Merchant and J.K. Simmons giving life to a script that regularly had us doing actual lols. And 3, it's the most immaculately designed and fiendishly clever puzzle game ever, toying with gravity and 3-dimensional space like they're child's playthings. Portal 2 is the game the original Portal, which was essentially the staff at Valve showing off how clever they all are for 3 hours, promised to be. It's deeper, more complex, and it's got Wheatley in it. And an ending that's up there with my absolute favourites.
I'm in space.
I know you are, mate.
Right. So, yeah, Portal 2 is number 2 in the Portal series, yes. And it's also number 2 on this list, yes. And 2 plus 2 is 4. And you're 1, Badger. Yeah, what? And 4 minus 1 is 3. And Valve also make Half-Life. Oh, that's the controversial entry klaxon. That must mean the sequel I'm about to talk about is, yes, it's Batman Arkham City. Definitely bigger, definitely prettier, but is it better than Arkham Asylum? The original still holds a special place in the hearts of Bat fans, and deservedly so. It was tight, focused, and rammed with detail and DC lore. Arkham City opened things up, however, giving the Dark Knight a dense open world to glide menacingly over, while still keeping all the brilliant bits, the combat, the gadgets, the impeccably balanced roster of supervillains, that made Asylum the best Batman game ever made.
City felt like Rocksteady's true vision for Batman, where you could swoop above a sodden neon mess of crime and corruption, and then dive down to earth and stamp on crime and corruption's kneecaps.
It was relentless quality, feeding you better combat moves, better gadgets, and better thugs to use them on, all the while making you feel like the quickest, stealthiest, and most gravelly voiced badass in comic book video game history. Also, Catwoman. Ask any sci-fi nerd what their ultimate game would be, and chances are they'd describe something close to Mass Effect, a sprawling choice-filled RPG about a kick-ass crew of aliens who fly around the galaxy looking cool, firing lasers, and occasionally having awkward video game sexy time. Then Mass Effect 2 came along, and it was as if the game we all knew and loved had just emerged from the sauna after an intense 2-year workout, the steam clearing to reveal a game that was leaner, better looking, and really bloody good at fighting now, in addition to having a gut-punching story about a kick-ass crew of aliens who fly around the galaxy looking cool, firing lasers, and occasionally having slightly less awkward but still mostly awkward video game sexy time.
Even if you hate space and tight-fitting sci-fi wardrobes and planets made of skyscrapers, Mass Effect 2 was still awesome because you could play it any way you wanted.
It stood up as a third-person shooter and an epic 100-hour RPG, disproving Nathan's long-standing theory that you can only be good at one thing at a time.
Oh, why didn't you tackle him, Nate?
I told you, Dave. I'm scoring the goals today. I can't defend at the same time.
You haven't scored any goals either.
You'll need to cast your mind back through the fog of time for our next entry, all the way back to 2007. The PlayStation 3 was big and powerful, I still had hair, and Assassin's Creed was a game simply called Assassin's Creed. No number, no subtitle, just a dude in a white robe climbing around the Middle East stabbing people.
I remember playing Assassin's Creed for the first time and thinking, man, this is massive and original and incredible. If only it was Assassin's Creed 2, a game that moved the action to Renaissance Italy, gave us a new hero in smooth ladies' man Ezio Auditore, and fulfilled the promise of the original by being enormous and beautiful and full of acrobatic stabbing without having to quickly collect a bunch of flags first. Assassin's 2 introduced double takedowns, refined the combat system, gave us a truly engaging story that eventually spanned an entire trilogy of Ezio, and in Florence and Venice gave us 2 open-world playgrounds that to this day have rarely been bettered. Venice in particular is still my favourite virtual city. It just felt so full and lived in, with its smoky alleys and crooked canals and bronze towers. And so authentic with its Leonardo da Vinci flying machines. What a game! Next up, we've got our first and only forquel, and this was a tough choice. Resident Evil 2 could just as easily have made this list, but we've gone for Resi 4 for a very important and intelligent reason. And that is that the game is frickin' amazing. It was brave and revolutionary too, ditching the familiar static third-person camera angle in favour of a dynamic over-the-shoulder shot that's since become standard practice for basically all games. This shifted Resident Evil, nudging it away from survival horror towards the action genre, although Shinji Mikami still filled the game with some of the most horrifying enemies I've ever encountered. Those bloody regenerator things that shuffle about making horrible rattling noises as they breathe. And then you shoot their heads off, but the head just grows right back. And you're shooting and shooting, but they just keep coming towards you because you forgot to get the infrared scope you need to see the parasites that live inside them. And then they're on top of you, and spikes come out of them, and you die. Oh, God. I still see them every time I close my eyes. Right, that's it then, last entry now. What other sequel was even better than the already brilliant original? Oh yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3.
Tally-ho! God, I don't think we film much beyond that. We'll have to do some more. Anyway, Metal Gear Solid 3 did what I thought no other game could possibly do, and that was outclass the original Metal Gear Solid, a game that's still probably my personal favourite, but empirically speaking, Snake Eater is just supreme. It turned the series' familiar stealth system on its head by ditching the Soliton radar in favour of a camouflage system and the tight linear interiors for an expansive rainforest filled with life, colour and danger. It wasn't just about stealth either. You had to survive, hunting and eating the local wildlife to replenish Snake's stamina, tending to wounds like broken bones and bullet holes. It changed the pace, it changed the look, it changed Metal Gear, but still included a gripping story, elaborate cutscenes, and some of the most memorable boss battles in the entire series. What a thrill, what a game. So give us a like if you enjoyed this week's video, let us know in the comments if we've missed any sequels you think deserve a mention, and subscribe for more of these videos every Friday. See you next week.